is brought to you by
APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing.
Havels Sewing. When you need to cut it close, choose Havels.
Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Hey everybody, thanks for watching Quilty this week. I'm Mary Fonz, and this is a Blocks A Go-Go show. We know you'd like those Blocks A Go-Go shows. I do too, because this is where we build a block, or at least we take you through some of the steps that you need to take to make it. And today's quilt block is called Card Trick, and it's appearing in Quilty Magazine. There's a really neat quilt that uses this block. And I did this version in some really cool Moda fabrics that I love, designed by Lisa Bongine. She does all that primitive gathering stuff. If you're a quilt geek, you know what I mean. Awesome fabrics, great palette. I love Lisa's stuff. So this is the block. It's called Card Trick, as I mentioned, and it's kind of this optical illusion. There are these interlocking, well, cards. They look sort of magical, if you will. And what this block is made up of is one hourglass unit that's in the center. This is an hourglass unit. And we featured a nifty way to make these on another episode of Quilty. So that's quarter square triangles, and then there are also half square triangles here in the corners. The units that make this quilt, or this quilt block, so interesting though, are really these, which kind of combine quarter square triangles and half square triangles. So let's take a look at the things that you need, what you need to cut, okay? You're gonna need half square triangles in your colors. I have them in orange and red and brown and black. And then I have this sort of beige off-white. It's what I chose as my contrasting fabric. Very high contrast here, very high contrast fabrics. Then you need quarter square triangles out of your colored prints, and you need quarter square triangles out of your background fabric, if you will. Okay, so you need those little guys. So once you have those, you're ready to start piecing. All right, so to make these sort of hybrid units, what I like to do is lay down my half square triangles in this particular order. And this is, where having your pattern nearby is a really good idea, because you need to match these. You need to jumble them up, okay? Here's what I like to do. I make a little sound effect, and I go, meow, and sort of land these little bats, like, meow, like that. If you line them up like red and orange, whatever, and then just take the second one, the second one over flies to the first. The third one over flies to the second. And the fourth one over flies to the fourth. That makes sense. So you'll see, looking at your pattern, which combinations you need, but they're very specific. You can't mix these up, otherwise your card trick will be a failure. Card trick fail. So then you join your little units together, right? You sew your 1/4 inch seam. We won't take time to sew all of these today, but I will show you one. We're gonna do a little bit of sewing. So you join those units together, and you get your hybrid units, and they're handy dandy and great. And then you need that center piece, that hourglass unit. And what I want to do is I'm going to sew this one today, because I want to make sure that some quilters press their seams open, some press them closed. Different projects often call for different techniques. We are going to sew this one together, and I want to make sure that you always are aware that when you press your seams to one side or the other, those seams need to abut, okay? So they really lock together. So when you're making this hourglass unit, this goes this way, the seam is pressed this way, and the opposite is pressed the opposite way. That way they really lock in together. I'm going to throw a pin into it, like so, and I think one is enough. I'm going to sit down at the sewing machine and sew this. Put the pedal to the metal. Don't sew over a pen, by the way. Some people do. I never do. It makes me very, very nervous indeed. So once you're done, cut your thread, and let's press it. Okay, set our seam. As always, embed that stitch into the unit and press it open. Carefully, making sure we don't have any accordion pleats in there. Lovely. Nice. Okay, so then what you do, and I would recommend having the block nearby, because you really need a guide as you're putting this together. You're gonna your brain's gonna melt. So you've got your half square triangles here, lay those out. put your centerpiece in, and lay out the different pieces that you need, and then start joining them together. And your quilt top assembly diagram will show you, how to join, or which pieces to join to which in order. We're always joining rows together, and then we're joining rows into the block. So let's see. We've got our corner pieces and that hybrid piece, and we've joined those together. Wa-boom. I've pressed my seams in on that row, okay? Then we have our second row. We've got our hybrid piece here and our hybrid piece here. That hourglass unit. Here I've pressed my seams out, right? Because we want all our seams to abut. So when we join this to that, we have that once again going in the opposite direction, okay? The reason that we do that, I can't say it enough, I say it a lot, you want happy patchwork, you want it to lay flat, so that's why we do that. So then here is your third row, and you do the same there. So you join these two first, and then add that, and you get your block. And it's really pretty awesome. And you know what you can do with this, and the pattern will tell you one way you can set this block, but it's up to you. Once you master a block, you can do all kinds of things with it. You could put a border around it, and then you have all your different blocks with all this border. You could set it on point. What? What's that? That's like a whole new quilt. It's like totally different. The creativity is up to you. So I know you have a lot of it. You have buckets of creativity. Buckets, you're a quilter. It's what you do. So make a card trick block and join us online and watch Quilty every single week. Don't miss a show. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Bye.
Quilty is brought to you by
APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing.
Havels Sewing. When you need to cut it close, choose Havels.
Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics.